Just going to try and show a couple of very easy projects. I'm going to start with the simplest probably, which is a set of dodgers. Now I don't normally sort of do this part of the job. I have done in the past, so I might not be fully conversant in terms of you may find it taking a little bit longer than what it should do. So I've got some measurements on a piece of paper in front of me. I'm going to draw what we call a set of dodgers, which are I believe you call them side screens. They're the panels that lace to the guard wires on a yacht. So my desktop here is custom. You can customize your desktop, create your own tools, which I've got along here. So there's quite a bit of customization in Rhino, but probably start with the simple default layout to start off with. So I'm going to select a line command. I'm going to type in the coordinates, which is 0, 0. So that's where I'm starting from. As you can see here, I'm going to change the view, so I'm looking down on the top. Okay, so the top of the Dodger is 1700 by 0, so I'm going along there. I can also, if I want to close in on the area that I'm drawing in, I can do this, and that's sort of zoomed in. I can now, if I wanted to, I could type in 650 on a line command, and if I go downwards, I'm stuck on ortho here, which you can set the angles, but I've normally got 90 degrees. Sometimes I set it to 45 degrees, so that's snapping onto 90 degrees. So I can click that, and then I can come along the base of my Dodger. I've got 1450. You can use imperial measurements. You can set Rhino up whichever way you want, and you can convert it. So 1450. There's 70mm is straight. Most pull pits, so push pits, have a little straight leg in the bottom of the stanchion. So up to there, click on back to there. That's my Dodger. So you can see there. Now I can select the offset command. I can type in the measurement. We call this a tabling. We would normally do that 40mm. We give another offset, which is 35mm, so it's just under the 40mm. So it basically means that there's a double layer of reinforcing under each eyelet. And we also tuck in an extra piece of reinforcing where the eyelets are as well. I want to mark the eyelets, so I'm going to mark a line in the middle there. I'm going to break that line at various points. In fact, I can go back and undo this. Sorry, I'm going to do this another way. So do excuse me, because like I say, I don't normally do this side of the work. I'm going to break this line here, in fact. Okay, I'm going to select the circle tool. I'm putting a circle on there, which is 4mm, so an 8mm diameter. There's a tool here called Array. I'm going to select that, select the curve that I want it to go along. I can select the number of items. So if I want 5, I can see how far apart that would put them. If I want 6, 7, see, we'll normally place our eyelets around about 300mm apart. 280 to 300mm apart, so we got 283 there, so that's fine. Okay, so that space those along there evenly. I'm going to repeat the command. Now I probably want across here 5. Okay, so we end up like that, and repeat the command along here. So I split this line first, so it's not treating it as a continual line, it's split into segments, and we'll put 5 across there. Okay, our staff will always know that there's an eyelet in the corner, so I'll get rid of the corner one. We always place an eyelet in the corner. I can join this line back up, and now I can select the move command. I can, whoops, just shows you. So I selected the wrong command there. I want move, and I'm going to move those up 20 mil. So I've typed in 20. Okay, because that tabling there is 40 mil. So same with these. Type in 20, and that's moved them out 20 mil. And then I can do the same with these. I can bring those 20 mil that way there. Now I have my dodger. Okay. It's normally important to keep saving your work as well, just in case anything goes wrong. Like I say, our staff will know that there's an eyelet in the corners here. Now we may want to put some text in. So there's text and text object. So let's try MF. Sorry, MFA. Well, it's Marine Fabricators. Let's just try Marine. Okay, so height of the letters here, I'm going to guess 150 millimeters apart. Okay, you can change the commands in here. Best just to try them and see what works. What I would normally do with this is, okay, that will be select. If I click on select last entities, I can group them, so now they'll act as one unit. What I'm going to do is put that on the middle of that line, so that's placed in the middle there in terms of height wise. I'm going to drag that across so it's roughly in the middle, and I'm going to scale that. You can see what's happening here. So I can scale to something that I want. They're still grouped. Again, set that in the middle height wise, brought that across. I could now decide, you're seeing what happens here, how easy it is just to manipulate this. I could scale that again if I wanted to. I could perhaps ungroup that and then just regroup this part here, and I could scale that again if I wanted to. Sorry, I'll group that section there as well, and I could perhaps scale this again. You may wonder what I'm doing here, but again, if I take ortho off, I can move that to where I want to, and it might be that I want to place the name something like that. Okay, so you have, it's very quick and easy to move this around, and if you're cutting this out by CAD, the machine can cut the letters for you, and it can also mark where the letters go, and we can put an emblem on there. I can go to edit text. I could change the font, sorry, if I am. So if I wanted to, I could so you get the idea. So there's text and text objects. You can use both. We found there's a way of doing it. I've broken that, so now that works like that. I can group that, take the eyelet out, group that. If I group it, it acts as one entity. Now I think you're probably getting the idea here that this side of it is quite easy, and say this is a standard production boat that you're doing, because we're working in 2D. You have this set of dodgers, and you'll have the file. If a customer comes back in 10 years time, you can replicate what you did. or equally you can change the name and do something different on here, and we could take a picture. I'm going to try and give a quick overview of actually completing a project. This is something that's already been worked on, and the frames have already been designed, including the allowances for the frame fittings, and that's all turned off and hidden on another layer. But most of the geometries here, you can see this. The height of the cockpit enclosure, this equates to 6 foot, which the customer's given us as a height requirement. And on the back of this, we have a height, so on the sprayer, we have a height of 1500 at the rear edge, agreed with by the customer. You're seeing the sort of line of the profile of the canvas here. Now, obviously, in an ideal world, it would be nice to have something that's perhaps a little bit flatter, sorry, without this dip in this area here. So yeah, this is a little bit of an issue, but yeah, Sprayhood needs to hit the height the customer wants. The cockpit enclosure needs to hit the height they want. So we've got some heights on here as well. This has all been approved. I'm just going to delete those off for a second. So we always take a data mark in terms of referencing the height, and you know, there'll be measurements supplied for where the feet go as well. But very quickly, I'm going to try and put some canvas on here and give an idea of how this all works. So Sprayhood. So once we've got the curves drawn up on here, so there's various tools along here to actually create a service. With experience, you'll get to know which ones work. So we have a wing on there, the canvas is rolling around the edge of the wing. Okay, we can also now join that edge to there, split that one by that one. Okay, so here we go, starting to see some resemblance to a Sprayhood here, and again with the front, we make all the allowances for the awning track, the CAD rail. That's already been done. You can probably just see in here there are some offsets. It's not exactly on the GRP. And then we have a service to build around here. There's a couple of ways of doing this. We could use 2-rail curve. That line needs to be exploded quickly. So I have that service in there now. This one's actually wrong. There's a gap in there. So mainly because I'm rushing things, where we have a bit of a time constraint here, but we can okay. If we put that on the canvas layer, it'll give it the color of the canvas layer. I've already selected a color for this, so we're seeing the detail. We're obviously going to have a grab bar on here. There's some smaller detail that we will put down on the back edge of the wing, just to bit like a cooking program. Here's one I've done earlier. So we cut away the bottom edge here for the webbing strap, and we allow for the stretch of the canvas here. So we know that as this over tensions, and this will pull down a little bit further. So that's been done. We also make allowances for the fact the canvas on the spray hood will move slightly as well. So when the canvas is tensioned back on the spray hood, we've digitized over quite a few jobs, and we've learned how the canvas reacts. So we know that this bar will actually come down a little bit, and what will happen, I'm just going to bring in some services that I've already done. Okay, those are already done, but same sort of tools as we've got here. Let's have a quick look at this. We want to put a window in here so we can flatten that. You'll have your standard offsets that you'll probably use. I can use a tool in here: curve, arc, tangent, arc, tangent to curves. One of the trademarks of this brand is they have one window. There's no center pillar. Detracts a little bit from strength, but that's their sort of signature. There we go. It goes up onto there. Split. Put that on the window layer. Right. Okay. So you're starting to see here, even if you've got areas trimmed out here, we can replicate that curve. I can use a command called untrim. I might be doing this because a second client might want the window to be a little bit different. So if I wanted to make that window different, again, select the last created, move that out. Let's just say this client wanted the window to be higher up. Okay, so we could just do that. What I really want to do here is just show you how quick it can be to mod things. See, we got two different window positions there. Now customer can see one or the other. We can take a rendering with the window in the lower position, the higher position. What we might do, even to show, we could actually just perhaps I'll use that untrim command again. See, it is also possible to supply the customer the actual model, so they could actually spin this around. They could download Rhino, so customer can see two different aspects there, two different options. Okay, as I mentioned, always important to save your work. Right, now we don't have a lot of time here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of that, and you can see we put a pocket detail on the inside here, and I've left that in a different color just so that the customer could actually see specifically the pocket being illustrated. What I'm going to do very quickly here is move this away from the C-plane, because that's where the canvas will be flattened to, and we're just going to look as if we were producing this now. So I'm just going to, we put a mark on there. I'm just hand drawing a mark on there So these are match points for when the machinist puts the panel. Right, so here goes then. So we're going to start unrolling various panels. Okay, let's drag them apart. Don't need that anymore. Switch to plan view. I'm going to create 2 new layers on here. Pen. Put all of this on the pen layer quickly. Unlock that layer, otherwise I won't be able to delete it. Just deleting everything. We'll need another layer called knife. Our machine recognizes pen as anything on the layer pen to be drawn. Anything on the knife layer will be cut. Change the color, so the knife layer will be on red and this pen layer will be blue. Okay, they are services at the moment, so we need a line around them. Okay, we can now select services and get rid of them. We are going to split a few of these because at the moment that's one line and I want that split in various points, and I'm also going to do the same with this. And I'm also going to do the same, well, I'll do that one in a minute. Right, so going to rotate this. It makes life much easier to have these orientated correctly. So with so much of what we'll be working on will be easier because of this. And again, we have our standard ways of lining up various material so that we take advantage of the stretch. We run these panels up the roll. I know there's a lot of discussion whether they should be run along the warp or the weft. Maybe our material is different. We use Umbrella plus maybe which is woven in Europe, but we run them up the roll, so this will work with that. Right, let's move on, and I'm going to join that now. I'm going to put some offsets in here. These are our standard seam allowances. These are for our pockets. And we also put what we call a finger strip on the back, which is a reinforcing area. You'll see all that in a second. Join that. So as mentioned, this particular brand doesn't have any window pillars in. It's part of their trademark. So the inner line is a cut line, the outer line is part of the stitch line. Don't worry if this doesn't make sense what I'm drawing. It's just as I say, we may have different production methods to you. Okay. So that line's in one. Right, I'm going to break that line. Also going to break this line. So we've got seam lines around here. Right, these are what we call match marks. They help the machinist line up the panels. Don't need the corner one. We normally leave a center mark at the base for fitting purposes. Okay. Join that up. Copy that down there. Just joining those. This part we cut larger, so I've offset that. That's trimmed off after the window's machined in. It's just our production technique. Bring that in. Group that. That all acts as one entity now. Right, so moving on, we've got this section here, which is what we call the wing. So just putting our reinforcing in. Don't need that anymore, don't need that. Extend that by 13mm, which needs a 20mm match mark. Just need to connect these corners. And I'll just trim that. We let this piece here tuck underneath, and so don't worry too much about what I'm doing here. I know it's not going to make a lot of sense, but this section here just folds underneath the buckling strap and just reinforces that up. So I need to split that. What I'm doing is joining the outer line, which will be the line that the machine is going to cut on. So that's one line there. We're going to just generate our reinforcing. This piece here, this piece is where the webbing strap goes. So we have that running with the thread of the cloth. We don't run this in the same angle. We rotate that along so it reinforces again. It runs across the up the fabric, and we put 2 layers of reinforcing on each wing. Going to group that again, so we have that complete, that complete. This all looks a bit of a mess. You're probably wondering what's going on here. It's just I'm obviously used to doing this fairly quickly. Although, as I say, this isn't actually part of my job anymore. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to split this line first. That's our match mark. Seconds. Done that on the wrong edge. So draw a line from there to there. Extend it. Now I have my match marks around here. This is for our pocket. This is a reinforcer for the end of the pocket, which is that. I'm going to mirror that, but I'm also very quickly going to draw a line in there. So our machinist knows where to put the line the pocket up. Again, I can just mirror by the axis of the actual CAD because I lined this up correctly. Right, things should start to look a bit more in line with what you're used to. So that's the pocket. I'm going to group that. That means these little marks act as one. I don't need that anymore, and that's the marks that will show the machinist where the pocket lines up. Right, so we put what we call a finger strip. It's a 150mm wide reinforcing strip on the back of the spray hood. Sometimes it can be done in leather if the client's paying for that. And we bring the pocket 20mm in from there. And I'm just going to extend those out to there. These marks are just to help the machinist. So just going to mirror these. In fact, I just wanted to extend that one first. This is the mark that tells the machinist where the wing joins on. The side screen, I think you may call it. So I'm just going to mirror those. And this will be the pocket. Let's just copy all of that. Right, we do not need that. We do not need that, but we've left behind the marks that will show the machinist where that's going. We don't need that line. And we don't need that either. So that's that section there complete. It's got all the seam allowances on. We do our seams different to everybody else. We don't do a run and fell seam. Our seams are taped and bound on the inside, and we've had this method tested with a local university in terms of UV degradation, accelerated UV degradation, and although the seam isn't as strong initially, within 12 months the seam far exceeds conventional seam, just because of the stitching is taped and bound on the inside and hidden from UV exposure. Right, so this is the reinforcing strip. We cut the cut lines a little bit bigger so that it can fold underneath, so there's no raw edge. Now, all this may look very confusing, but I wouldn't worry. It's becomes second nature, and this is what I'm saying in terms of you will gain your speed. Like I say, the last time I've done any flattening out, as we call it, is probably a couple of years ago, so I've not done this for a long time. Just going to group that. I normally have a center mark on the back as well, just helps what the fit is, but all I need to do, I've clicked on mid, I've put one on there, and if I can copy by the same point to each one of those, and I just need to add it to the group, because at the moment it's not selected. So if I add that to the group, now it acts as a group. This one's going to be the pocket. That's a zip line for the cockpit enclosure, which is only needed on the pulling band. Okay, let's group that, and then we're going to nest this. One of the other software packages we use has an automatic nesting function, but we tend to do this manually. Half the time it's quicker, and it's not just that, it's you're in control of which way the cloth's going to run in terms of the warp and weft of the fabric. So I'm just going to draw a box, starting from 0, 0. The length doesn't matter because our table works on a conveyor system. So I did that too small, mistyped. 1520 wide, which is the width for this umbrella fabric. Okay, now you can see this acts great because I've got it as a group. I can turn these little commands off. Now that's the width of the material. I just need to have it inside that box, and that there will probably fit there. You tend to learn fairly quickly how to nest the fabric down with a spray hood. It tends to work that a certain way is best. Now I've got 3 individual groups here. I'm going to group the whole lot on top of that, so that now it all acts as one group. I'm going to bring that into here and quickly blow up and just see that I'm not overlapping anywhere there. Let's take that out for the moment. We're going to need opposites of these, as we're going to need an opposite of the wing. So now we just need to nest these down. Now if it's a one-off job, you will decide how much time it's worth spending in terms of lining the nesting the canvas down. But if it's a production item, then if you're saving half a meter of cloth on 20 spray hoods, it's obviously worth taking a little bit of time to get the most economical nesting that's possible. So we may decide to put that one in up there. We've obviously got to move that. Right, we can delete that line now because everything's in the box. We could take a measurement, and that tells us that we need 5.719 meters. So you know exactly how much cloth you want. The only piece I haven't nested down is this piece here, the reinforcing. You may decide to order an extra meter of fabric, and it's a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle. If you want to spend a bit more time and try and nest it down a little bit tighter, you can do, but I'm pretty sure that's probably as good as we're going to get. So the only other option would have been to take this panel up here, but I think this is the best option. Now I need to ungroup everything because everything at the moment is on the pen layer. So that means everything will become penned. And so so now this should all be individual. And now if I select what I want to put on the knife layer, when this file goes over to our cutting table, everything on the knife layer will be cut. So I'm just going to put it onto the knife layer, which I've colored red. I shall save my work again. Just a quick check. If you want to, I can turn the one layer off. So that's everything that's going to be penned. That's everything that's going to be cut, which is obviously the outside geometry and no marks on the inside. So you can see here we got the front of the spread, the windows marked with the cut line for the machinist. The seam line we don't need because of the way we construct our work. All the reinforcing is here. All these match marks are going to be on to the to the millimeter, tighter than that. All these panels are going to line up. That they're correct. If I was to take the measurement between these match marks, they will be exactly the same as the measurements between these match marks here. This mark here is where the when this panel joins into here, it shows the machinist. So that will get machined along there. And then this will actually go into there. Bearing in mind, I'll just group that back again. And the reason that's slightly out there is it's just the offsets with the seam allowances. So that's on there, and if we were to come in the width of our seam here, that's actually the corner mark. It helps the machinist line the product up. Hopefully that all makes sense. That didn't take long, and that digital file will be saved and we can replicate that. So that probably didn't take any longer than doing the work manually, probably quicker to do that side of it. Obviously there's a CAD design, but then you're not taking the framework down to the boat. That's all done within the CAD package for us. So I think you can see for me the benefits there. I mean, another big benefit for me is I can do this from home, so I don't have to be in the workplace. And if you've got a rush job or something you need to knock out, fairly quickly, there's nothing worse than having to drive into the factory to be able to do that. I can do this from home, and I can send the file through to our staff. As I say, normally I do the CAD design, and when it's signed off, I'd send the file through to our staff, and they would do this part of it. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you.